The state law allowing the construction of an underground tunnel for Line 5 was approved back in 2018. If Democrats hadn't railroaded this for political purposes, it would be done by now. But nearly a decade later, political activists, by which I mean some of Michigan's own elected leaders, continue to fight it. The dangerous delays in this replacement project jeopardize our energy security and leaves a 70-year-old pipeline at risk of failure sitting under the Straits of Mackinac. The best thing we can do to lower energy prices and protect the environment is to let the Line 5 replacement project move forward.
That was Michigan State Senator Thomas Albert. Back in April, he proposed an amendment to state law. He said the amendment would prevent state officers or state departments from spending taxpayer dollars on lawsuits or other efforts aimed at blocking the Line 5 project. He said that would create a dangerous delay. Well, that amendment failed, but despite that failing, permit approvals were recently granted, representing a significant step forward for a project that's faced legal and regulatory disputes since it was first proposed in 2018. Joining us to discuss this is the Center Square reporter, Elyse Apel. Elyse, the Line 5 tunnel project, what is it?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Greg. So this tunnel is a 73-year-old pipeline. It currently moves 500,000 barrels of oil and natural gas liquids daily under the Strait of Mackinac. So the Strait of Mackinac is about a 4-mile waterway that connects Lake Michigan and Lake Huron and kind of divides Michigan's lower and upper peninsulas. This is a pipeline that's currently just kind of sitting on the base of the lakebed there in Michigan. And they are trying to, Enbridge is a Canadian company that runs the pipeline, and they are trying to move the pipeline under the lakebed, drill down and put it in a tunnel that runs under the lakebed instead of just sitting kind of on the bottom of the lakebed. So it's been a project, like you said, that they've been trying to move forward since 2018. It's had a lot of hiccups, faced a lot of lawsuits, a lot of pushback from Democrats, from Native American groups, but this is really, just another step towards it actually coming to fruition.
Yeah, and again, just some of the particulars about this. The Line 5 tunnel, it's a 73-year-old pipeline, 500,000 barrels of oil and natural gas. You said a day? That's a significant amount of energy piping through there.
Yeah, and that's what Republicans say. And Democrats and these Native American groups are they're not just calling for the pipeline to remain as is, but they're actually calling for it to be closed completely because of the threat that they say it poses to the lakes and Michigan's natural resources. Republicans have pushed back against that and, and the company, Enbridge as well, are pushing back against it and say, that it's an important step to protecting Michigan's energy. The company, we spoke to the company, the Center Square spoke to the company, and they told us in a statement that the permits are an important step forward for a project designed to further protect the Great Lakes while helping ensure the uninterrupted flow of energy that supports Michigan and the region. So they really understand, that this is a significant issue for Michiganders and, how they get their natural energy.
And let's talk a little bit about that permit that was provided from the Michigan Department of Energy, Great Lakes, and Energy. You've got a 16-month review process with, 70,000 public comments. And what ultimately did they say, and what were some of their concerns?
Yeah, so the agency said that they would issue this permit. Now, there are more permits that still need to be released, so this is not the end of the road for permitting. But the agency said that, as proposed, the project met regulatory and statutory requirements. It did impose some conditions, though, because they had some concerns with lake irises and then some bat habitats in the area, so some concerns about a couple of the kind of more endangered species in the area. And so they imposed a couple kind of conditions, asked that Enbridge kind of basically protect those species, but it did end up moving forward with the permit process.
Now, as you said, Enbridge indicating this is an important step forward, but there's some that are pushing back against this, who may have been behind some of the efforts to halt this project from moving forward. Tell us about the Bay Mills Indian community. What did they have to say about the permit approvals?
Yeah, so that is one of the tribes that's been kind of fighting this tunnel, and it's one of the tribes that has been pushing for the tunnel to be closed completely, or the pipeline to be closed completely. So multiple Native American tribal nations and climate groups have also joined together. Both, they were criticizing the permits, but also for the last couple of years, they've kind of filed these lawsuits against the pipeline and the proposed changes to it. The Bay Mills Indian Community President Whitney Gravel said in a statement that the state of Michigan has betrayed us today. Every swimmer, every boater, every fisher, every tribal nation, and every Michigander who loves these waters. This decision to grant the permits is a deep betrayal of our Great Lakes state, and we will confront it immediately, fiercely, and without hesitation. So they really are, promising to continue fighting this.
That leads me to my next question, Elyse. What's next for this? How long do you think that process is going to take? If there are challenges brought, any other hurdles there are to further permits, and when exactly is this project going to be complete?
So the real answer is no one really knows. The permit there's still a number of permits, both state level and federal level, that the project is waiting for. There's currently a lawsuit before the Supreme Court over a separate permit that some of those groups have filed, and they're basically litigating it before the Michigan Supreme Court, and a decision is expected on that in the next couple of weeks. So that could be another, either a step forward for the project or kind of another hurdle for them to pass. But really, all of this is just, in the context of President Trump's an executive order that he passed on day one declaring a national energy emergency. And so this project has really been expedited since that order was issued. And under that order, Trump asked that basically these projects nationwide kind of work to quickly solve high prices and remedy what he called numerous problems with America's energy infrastructure. So that's really kind of the background that's really pushing this project forward, and trying to lower energy costs, and really just expedite what President Trump has called an energy emergency. So that's kind of the background to this project. But really, who knows when it'll actually break ground. And even Enbridge itself, seems to be pretty hesitant on, giving a timeline for when they think that'll happen.
Yeah, it's something we'll definitely be checking back in with you on in Michigan. But let's maybe, hope it's not going to be another 8 years where we're still talking about permitting processes. Elyse Apel with the Center Square, greatly appreciate your time.